New. This is brand new, so pay attention. At the top of land transfer tax on page 19, I want you to write down nice and big, one time expense. I wish somebody would have told me about this when I bought my first home, because all they tell you is like, just have your 5% down payment, just have that, just 5%. Just actually need more like 7 to 8% for all the extra expenses that you will incur. Okay, and this is a huge expense. We're talking $4, $5, $6, $7,000. Okay, that's a one-time deal. As I'm talking about this, let me quickly ask you to go back to 13, because there's something, a one-time expense, and then there's ongoing. So go to page 13 where we did the insurance. This is just to help you out. This is not, so if you go to page 13 at the very top, just write down ongoing. Ongoing expense. So insurance, obviously, it keeps on, right? Every year, every month, you have to keep paying for insurance. You can't get out of that. So insurance would be an example of an ongoing expense. When it comes to moving, right? Moving would be a one-time expense. Land transfer tax would also be, would fit under that one-time expense category. If you have a highlighter, this is where you need it. Land transfer tax, I would highlight that. You pay this tax to the Manitoba Land Titles Office at the time the title of your home, right? That's a tax you pay at the time the title of your home is registered. Land transfer tax is paid, right, when the owner of a property changes. So if that property changes hands from one owner to the other, there is land transfer tax. So I will give you a very silly example. Let's say your parents want to give you the house, right? Legally, they want to write it over from their name to you. You have to pay land transfer tax. Okay, even if you're not buying somebody else's house, you're staying in the home, you have to pay that. Okay, so legally, that's how it works. Manitoba government collects this as revenue, and the lawyer, watch this, the lawyer hired to do the transaction will make sure the money gets transferred properly. So there's usually a lawyer involved. You should have a lawyer. Basically, you pay the lawyer puts it in the trust fund, and then that lawyer transfers it over to the government. Okay. Home buyers have to be aware of this cost, as it is a one-time large cost required before possession. Okay. The first $200,000 is taxed according to a scale. Amount over 200,000 gets taxed 2%. Let me just give you a quick. This chart here, I will make a note. Chart will be provided. Okay. So you don't have to worry about making this chart appear on your study sheet. I don't want you to waste space on this chart. Okay. I would really want you to have a highlighter for this part, but I want you to know that the first $30,000 of your property, right, gets taxed 0%. On the next 60,000, so just highlight the 60,000, you get taxed 0.5%. On the $60,000 after that, you get taxed 1%. And then on the next 50,000, you get taxed 1.5%. I just want you to highlight those, nothing else. And this is where I'm actually going to kind of change what I just said. You ready for this? If you have a problem converting from percentage to decimal, then this is what you want to add to your 0.5% is 0.005. You divide that by 100, you get this. I would write that down right next to this. 1% is 0.01. 1.5% is 0.015. And 2% is 0.02. Make sure you have the zeros where they belong. Okay? And so I made a visual. I'm going to come back to this, okay? If you're not done copying, let me just bring that up. So basically, I just divide everything by 100 to get the decimal. Here it is. So let's assume this is your scale, right? So if you, I don't know if you were doing the math, but 30,000 plus 60,000 plus another 60 plus 50, this adds up to 200,000. Okay, so that's where the 200,000 mark is here. So every chunk of your property, of the value of your property, gets taxed differently. And then there's a point where anything above it is just a flat rate of 2%. So let's imagine this is the house you're buying. Most of us are over 200,000 when we buy it. So you almost have to think of it this way, right? This is the value of your home, the red, and we're going to chunk it up like this and figure out what your total land transfer tax is after we do the calculations. So it may seem a little daunting, but it's not that bad if you just pay attention. It's almost like insurance. If you paid attention to the examples, after a while you kind of know what to do, right? So let's go and do a few examples. I'll do 3 examples before we go, and by then you should have a pretty good idea of how to do it. Okay? So calculate the land transfer tax for purchasing a house worth $385,000. So watch what I do here. I take that amount and I go through these highlighted numbers. Right? So the first is 30,000, so I subtract 30,000. How much do you pay on that? 0%. So I'm just going to go ahead and say you pay nothing on that. That's the first scale. Then you go 385 minus 30,000. That leaves you with 355,000. Now what's the next value on our scale? It's 60,000. See that? My pencil is going over it. So we're going to go minus 60,000. That, before you move on, you pay 0.5% on that, which is the equivalent of this. So you have to show that step. And we're going to figure that out a little later. For now, just follow me. Okay? We subtract that. So 355,000 minus 60, you're left with 295,000. Okay? 295,000. The next number on my list is 60 again. So it's like a 30, 60, 60 increment. On that 60,000, you pay 1%. So we go times 0.01 equals, we're going to figure that out in just a bit. For now, just follow my lead. Then you go line and subtract it. You're left with 235,000. Make sure you write this down. Okay? I can't do it. I can't help you unless you have some examples, right? What's the next number on the list? The highlighted, it's 50 grand. So you subtract 50 grand from it. And on the 50 grand, you pay this much percentage-wise. So it's almost like we're figuring out for every chunk how much you would have to pay. And now we're almost done here. 235,000 minus 50, that's 185 left. And if you can tell, if you look at my list here, look up here where my pencil is, I went through 30, 60, 60, and 50. And I will show you that here. 30, 60, 60, and 50. I went through all of that. Now you're done. You can't keep subtracting. So you just take whatever is left over and multiply it by 2%. So we take that remainder, multiply it by 0.02, is going to equal a certain amount. Now we need to grab our calculators and figure that out. So 60,000 times 0.005. You will remember this number after a while. That's 300 bucks. Okay? The next one, can you do mental math on that one? 60,000 times 0.01. You can only guess that it's 600 bucks, right? So that's 600. The next is 50,000 times 0.015. That is $750. Then the last one here, that's the one that would give me a heart attack if I saw that on my bill, right? The last chunk, everything over, you're 185,000 over the $200 scale, right? And that's just a flat fee of 2%. So now this is the grand finale here. Land transfer tax. I'm not going to add the zero, right? It's pointless. 300 plus 600 plus 750 plus 3,700. So you just basically just add up all these numbers that you've accumulated here. It's 900, 1650 plus 3,700. It's $5,350. And I'm not kidding you, this is the exact number you would be paying. This is like insurance is just an estimate. This is exactly. So if you're ever wondering like how much am I going to pay for a house, when it comes down to land transfer tax, you know exactly how much it's going to be. The more expensive your house, like if you're looking at like $1 million house or more, I wonder if, you know what, I bet you know the lottery, when you get that house, the $1 million house or whatever, when you win that tri-hospital lottery or whatever, or HSC lottery, that's $1 million. So you would be, if you go $1 million, so that'd be 800,000 times 2%. So you'd be paying 16,000 plus whatever else. So that's how much you'd have to pay in land transfer tax. I didn't even think of that. So that's like, hey, you get a free house, but you need to pay all this, right? I guess I'm sure you're going to have to pay land transfer tax on that. All right, let's do another one. So this is the extreme case where you're over the max. Notice here, you're past, this is over 200, over 200K. I want you to make note of that. That was over 200K. This one is under 200K. It's almost more complicated if it's under 200K. I know you're like, what? Yeah, you got to watch out a bit more when it's under 200,000. So let's start. The start is the same. You're writing this down, right? Oh, I got to hurry a little bit. So 135,000. You go through these highlighted numbers again. I'm going to go minus 30,000. You pay nothing on that, so don't worry about timesing it by 0, right? Then you're left with 105,000. You take the next number on the list, which is 60,000. You pay what on that? 0.005. Park it, just leave it for now. 105 minus 60,000, that's 45,000. And now you're in trouble. Let me highlight this. You went through 30,000 and 60,000. Those numbers should stick out. Technically, I'm supposed to subtract another 60,000, right? Right? That's the next number on the line. But can you do that? You'd be in negative. That's when you stop, right? You stop there and just go to whatever you were at 0.05. The next one is 1%, right? So you just take that and multiply it by whatever the next percentage would have been. And you stop. So I will just say this. Can't subtract anymore. Okay, so you stop. You cannot keep subtracting. So whenever you can't subtract, then you stop and just take that, the next, right? We went 0.005, the next one is 0.01, right? So you stop there. I'm going to borrow from the top here. This is $300. And this is 45,000 times 1 is $450. You use your calculator for this if you're not sure. So land transfer tax is 300 plus 450. It's a lot less, right? $750. So if your house is under 200,000, you're not paying as much. This is probably from the 1900s. I bet you the scale, like they need to update that. But the city loves it, right? Because every time a property changes hands, they want you to buy and sell as many times as you can. That's in their best interest, because the more times you buy a house, the more times you'll be paying that. Every time you buy a house, you need to pay this. If you stay in your home your whole life, you're only paying it once and that's it, right? So the city makes a lot of money with this. Trust me. The hotter the market, the happier they are, okay? We have time for this one. I'll do this one and then we're done. 190,000. I'm going to go through the motions here. 30,000. I pay $0 on that. 19 minus 3, right? 160 left. The next number is 60,000. I pay 0.005 on that. Maybe I'll give you a little bit of a hint for your study sheet. Then it's 100,000 left. Can I keep subtracting? Yep. And I pay 0.01 on that. I'm left with 40 grand, right? The next number line would be, so you went through the 30, the 60, and the 60. So the next would have been 50,000, right? I can't do that. I can't keep subtracting. So I just stop there and take the next percentage, which was 1.5%. And I can borrow from my previous answer, right? This is 300 bucks. As I said, you'll remember some of them. This is 600 bucks. And that one is also 600 bucks. So the land transfer tax is 300 plus 600 plus 600, which is in this case 1,500 bucks. Okay. This is what I would have on my study sheet under land transfer tax. I'll let you copy. Maybe I'll put this on the board. No, I'll put it up here. So sorry for moving this if you're still copying. I will just say this. I would have like an LTT like this, and I would have 30,000 is 0, right? The next 60,000, you have to multiply by 0.005. The next 60,000, 0.01. And the next 50,000, sorry, 30, 60, yeah, 0.015. And then above 200K, it's times 0.02. Something like that on your study sheet. That's all I would have there. If I were you.